What do you call someone who has 160,000 followers on social media? If you said influencer, you're correct. An influencer gig is pretty standard, right? You build a large following on social media, you get a bunch of engagement, brands sometimes pay you to make posts for them, or if you have a product to sell, you'll make posts about your product and sell that, right? But today, we're interviewing my friend Kojo, who's built a large following on social media, but he and his family are redefining what it means to actually be an influencer. So welcome to the Blueprint Podcast. Let's get started. Kojo,
yes, sir.
Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast.
Thank you, sir.
Glad
Thank you
to
for
have you
having me
on.
on.
Yeah, man. So we kind of did a quick little intro about you, but why don't you just tell the people who you are, what you do, and yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I'm a family man. That's what I do for a living.
Okay.
Most of the time, I'm changing diapers and soothing my wife's sorrows. That's what I do for a living.
I love that, man.
But secondary, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I'm a father, a husband, a son.
Yeah.
I like to love.
Okay.
I love to love. I love the people that are in my circle.
Yeah.
I love my family. That's one thing. That's first nature. Second nature is really business and entrepreneurship.
Okay. Yeah, and I definitely want to get into some of that. In the intro, I said you guys had 160,000 followers.
Yeah.
But I think that number is not even accurate.
Jesus.
So, talk about your social following, man. Drop the flex on them, bro. How many followers you guys got?
Well, as of right now, Instagram, I think, is 160,000.
Yeah.
I think Facebook, we're probably at like 75 or 76.
Yeah.
I would have to check because every single time it changes.
Yeah.
On YouTube, we just hit 1,625 people.
Okay.
And then on TikTok, I think we are at 170 something.
Yeah.
I have to check.
Yeah.
But across the board, we are close to, I think, 500,000.
Wow, man, that's awesome. Which platform is your favorite?
Instagram.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. So you guys have built a kind of a large following. You seem to be a very family man, all about the family, putting positivity out in the world.
Yeah.
Talk about entrepreneurship. What are some of the companies you guys are running? Are you leveraging your social platforms for these businesses?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the first companies that we started, me and my wife, was NutriBabe.
Okay.
We sold baby clothing.
Okay.
I don't know if you checked that out, but
yeah,
it's all neutral colors.
Okay.
We started it mid-COVID, right? God showed himself very well in our lives.
Yeah.
And I had quit my job. It was crazy, but we started that. And within less than maybe a year, we took it to an evaluation of $4 million.
Wow.
And then wifey got pregnant with my second daughter.
Okay.
And things got hectic because we were running it together.
Yeah.
We shut that down. So there was NutriBabe, which is a baby clothing brand. We have Octus House. It's a full production house and an agency, which is going to be like a liaison between influencers and companies that want to run campaigns. So for example, say Architect Network want to run campaigns with influencers. We will be the ones in between to make sure that the money is going toward what it's supposed to go to, the strategy is being followed, and
right.
all that. So that's one thing that we are super, super proud of.
Yeah.
At the moment that we're
absolutely
working on.
Yeah.
And then there is the family business. I think probably that's what people know me.
Yeah, absolutely.
For.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because you mentioned influencers and family, and that's kind of where things are kind of wrapped up together with you guys. And so when we talked before the episode, you were very clear that y'all aren't influencers, right? You really wanted to kind of put a twist on that. Yes. So talk about how you guys are more than influencers, and kind of how you define your family and your business. I think y'all's prowess on social media has been you and your wife and your kids showcasing your lifestyle, right? Yeah. Y'all trips to Africa, the different things y'all are doing, the brands you support, and I think people are really gravitating toward that, and obviously the numbers show that. Yeah. So kind of talk about how what is y'all's approach, and kind of how do you define what it is that y'all are doing?
So we are inspirers.
Okay.
That's what we call ourselves, right? I think influencing has taken a different turn for people that want to, look at it that way. For us, we thought we want to inspire people to live a more wholesome life. If you want to live healthy, then go ahead.
Yeah.
If you want to love your family, include your family in entrepreneurship, please go ahead, do that. It might not be easy, fear it, but do it anyways.
Yeah.
Right. So we try to portray that a lot more in our lifestyle and in the way we send a message out to people. So we never really thought of ourselves as influencers, because not all the time that we're trying to post something that we get commission on. Like there are a lot of brands that we turn down,
Okay.
like a lot,
Really?
right? Because we just don't stand behind it, because we don't think that we're supposed to be in that position where we are always trying to throw products in people's faces,
Okay.
you know, or trying to get them to go buy this, or that's not what we do.
Yeah.
You know, so we're trying to inspire people to travel more with your family, you know, teach their children about culture,
Right.
really, really deeply, have them travel, go to the places that the culture really comes from, to where it's not watered down. Let them really absorb that. So we, even with the African trip, that was the whole dream, to have my children meet the Maasai and sing Maasai songs, and
Yeah.
you know, just be around
For those who
Kenyans.
don't know, talk about kind of what is. I know you all have kind of a concept that you are doing with your Africa trips. Kind of talk about that real quick.
Absolutely, yeah, sure. So, redefining Africa, journey to Alkebulan.
So I love that, bro. It's like a movie about to get started, man. Where your popcorn? Like,
and you know, the funny thing is that once you say redefining Africa, a lot of people get apprehensive, I guess, right? I would say, because you know, they say, "How dare you try to redefine Africa?" But if you were to ask anybody, "Hey, what's your first thoughts about Africa?" They will give you poverty, undevelopment, all of this other underbelly stuff, and it's very different, right? So we wanted to kind of like have the world look at Africa through our lens and define how great the people are. And even though they might not be using Wi-Fi and big giant TVs and all of this modernized stuff, their culture is still so very rich and steeped in something that has a substance, you know. And I feel like the way the world is going right now, that is very well needed, right? And I think Africa is the new frontier. Not the last, the new frontier. I think the amount of resources that comes out of there, especially when it comes to like minerals and all this other stuff, if the people were to know what's under their feet, it'd change the game. Right. If we were to know what we can get in Africa, I don't think we'll spend more time here. That's the thing. So that's what we're using redefining Africa to do.
Okay. Gotcha. And like you, I mean, you're an immigrant? I'm assuming were you
Yes,
born
yes,
in Africa?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yes,
so where
yes.
where are you from?
Ghana.
Ghana.
West
Okay,
Africa,
gotcha.
yes.
Which is kind of like, I feel like Ghana is the trending African country right now, and you can like, you know, I don't know, I hope that's not offensive anyway, but
it's
like,
great.
I feel like that's the one that has actually gotten some of the social media prowess. You know what I mean? In terms of like African Americans going there, investing money there, tourism. So I think just even, you know, do you think any of that energy is kind of fueling you, or is you're kind of like, hey, regardless of what's happening at home, this is still what I want to do?
Absolutely, partially. You know, when 2016, when it did the year of return in Ghana, it really touched my heart, right? Because no other African country has actually taken on the mantle to say, hey, this is my bosom, come home, right? This is your home, come learn about the history of your so-called ancestors, because our ancestors weren't slaves. There were kings that ruled lands, and rulers and intellectuals and people that were very, very prominent. We just have a history, a very recent history of something that were done to, again, our recent ancestors, that we just can carry on to this time. And so when Ghana did that, it was pretty incredible. You know, Ghana played a very huge part in the transatlantic Atlantic slavery, and by Ghana being positioned where it's at, like Elmina Castle and all this, so there is still heritage to go back to. So there's still this connection that when you go back, you're like, I'm back home. So that was really great, and it fueled a lot of the things that we're doing now, really. But the decision had been made already before that. That we were going to travel Africa. We were going to show our kids how the culture really looks like.
Okay,
so, yeah.
Okay, so I want to come back to that, because I think that's a big piece of who you are, where you're going. I also just have some personal things that I want to kind of talk through with you in regards to that. But I want to kind of go back to entrepreneurship, right? I want to go back to you guys being the influencer, inspirer role, right? So like, how long did it take for the brand to just like blow up, for you guys to have those viral moments? Like, I mean, were you guys just like pounding the pavement, just putting up posts, or is it kind of like, when was kind of that moment you're like, okay, we got a large following here, like what's going on?
Well, it's sort of a funny story actually. So I take you back when my daughter was born, it was mid-COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and people couldn't really come to your house and see it.
Yeah.
So we wanted to, my wife started a Instagram page to post the baby pictures,
Mhm.
and it was private actually.
Okay.
So like send it to our family members, and they could see the progress of how
Yeah.
my little Efia is doing. And there was a swaddle video. I think my wife was posting. I was not paying attention. I was concentrating on running the business, the
Mhm.
baby business. And my wife posted every day. Cute, because my
Mhm.
daughter's very, very cute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we're gonna have some screenshots up for the kids,
yeah,
so other
yeah,
people
yeah.
get a sense of like, yeah, you got a beautiful family, man.
So she kept posting and posting, and there was a swaddle video.
Mm-hmm.
One swaddle video, dude. I mean, she was posting outfits that are
Mhm.
super cute. None of that took, had traction. But
Yeah.
the swaddle video, her getting out of swaddle video, became very controversial. People were talking about children dying in swaddles and all this other crazy stuff. So all of a sudden, we have 12,000 followers.
Wow.
And my wife shut me down. Like, okay, so I posted something, made the page public, and this is what we were looking at. And I was like, okay, so then we run with it.
Okay.
So then that's what we did, and we continuously started to sort of redefine, how we wanted to approach it. Because
Mhm.
at first it was just baby.
Yeah. So
you
what
know,
was the approach that you guys ultimately landed on? Kind of like the direction y'all wanted to go with it.
completely true to our lifestyle.
Okay.
Right, we were vegans at the time. We
Okay.
still are, plant based. We're actually moving away from the vegan thing. We are saying we're plant based.
Okay.
That's another saturated thing. But anyway, so we'll talk about that
Yeah.
later. But we wanted it to stay true to our life. We wanted to homeschool,
Mhm.
right? So we wanted that to be part of it. We wanted to travel. So we
Mhm.
wanted that to be part of it, and being an entrepreneur and all of that. So
Yeah.
we went back to the basics. What is our lifestyle
Yeah.
like? And that's what we're going to try and portray.
Okay, so kind of vlog style, kind of showing kind of people, hey, here's what our life looks like,
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
kind of doing it aesthetically,
Yeah.
like kind of there's kind of some cinematographical vibes. I think it
Yes.
just kind of comes. I think your skill set as like a content creator. Then, like, were you a content creator at the time, like in terms of like, or did that develop as a result of kind of the social media?
Yeah, I was a
growing?
film director
Okay, film
before
director. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
and my wife was like a very prominent photographer,
Okay, gotcha.
published multiple times.
Okay.
Yeah, so she definitely had
Yeah.
something in the
Yeah.
bag. And I had
Okay.
something in the bag.
Yeah, I love that, man. I
So,
love
yeah.
that. So talk about the business component of it, right? Because I know you talked about like y'all are turned down brands, but I mean, at any level, have you been able to like make a business out of it, or is it
Oh,
literally
yeah,
just
for
like,
sure,
hey,
for
we're just
sure.
doing this for fun? Like,
No, this is definitely a full-on business. We are
Yeah.
registered LLC. The kids are employees. I am
Okay.
an employee of the company.
yeah.
We
What does that look like? I mean, are you guys doing brand partnerships?
brand
What is
partnership. We
okay.
do a lot of brand partnerships.
Mhm.
Our Africa trip, we actually partnered with Expedia.
Mm-hmm.
And the next one that we're going, which we're going to do Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Madagascar, South Africa, and another country which I probably should look at
Mhm.
and say.
An
But that
itinerary,
is
yeah.
with Expedia too.
Yeah.
And our first deal that we got was from Costco.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were at like 24,000, 25,000 followers.
Mhm.
And, at first my wife was getting just free stuff,
Mhm.
because, I mean, again, people was just sending you free stuff when you have that many followers.
Mm-hmm.
So she was just getting free stuff. But then we had somebody that was our agent,
Mm-hmm.
and she just came and was like, hey, listen, Costco want to pay you guys this amount of money. So, oh, yeah, we'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
So then we started thinking about the business aspect of it, and
Right.
I really sat down one day and really sat with my wife, because we brainstormed a lot.
Mhm.
How do we want this thing to look like? So we kind of like orchestrated and stitched our life to kind of like match
Mm-hmm.
a wholesome family that you can also give a product to that can inspire other people to want to patronize your business too, or want to live the lifestyle and also patronize your business.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And I kind of get the sense that in terms of just like the business model, it's about being additive to what y'all already want to do. So
Yes.
y'all aren't just like, hey, we're for sale. Like whoever can write the biggest check, hey,
Mhm.
we'll figure out how to
Mhm.
make it work.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
guys are
no.
very like, hey, we have a narrative that we want to put together for our family.
Yep.
And if your brand is additive to that, then hey, let's work. But
Right.
if it's not,
right.
then
but
you
if
guys
not,
are,
yes.
yeah.
If we don't support it, we're not
Mhm.
doing it.
And so do you feel like that is counterintuitive to the way the rest of the influencer world works? Or do you feel like that's kind of like where like that's kind of standard at this point. Like everyone kind of does that.
Well, it is counterintuitive
Mm-hmm.
to the people that want to stay true to who they are,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think influencing can easily become a thing where you're just taking every single product that comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like products that have chemicals. We don't like products that we couldn't use on our kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? If my kid can't be around the product, I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how much money you're giving to us. Like I was saying earlier, we've turned down a lot of brands, but God being so good by
Mm-hmm.
staying so true to ourselves, there's been a lot of brands we have
Mm-hmm.
long-term partnerships with different brands.
Okay.
Puma being one of them. And
Yeah.
there's a lot. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So how do y'all balance kind of this like the realities of actually having a family and family life isn't always like social media ready, you know what I mean? I'm sure there's
Nah,
days when like you and wifey aren't getting along or the kids are going crazy. Like, those aren't like social media moments, right? So how do you balance the pressures of like being an authentic real family that has real family problems, but then also this like pressure to kind of portray this brand online too, right? And then even balancing privacy, like what do you post, what do you not post, like
Right.
how do you have a public and private life? How do you guys balance kind of that flow?
So we've created a window
Okay.
that our audience look through, and
Okay.
we kind of like curate what they see in that window,
Okay.
right? On our day-to-day life, like we're just living our lives. If something is cute, my wife might take the photo or take a video, and maybe later on she'll stitch something together. What do you think about this? Do you approve of this? And I'll say, yes, this is good. Let it be, post it, just post it. And then
Yeah.
she would do that. But we never really concentrate on, oh, this is cute. Let's just capture this for reels.
Yeah.
Even with our Africa trip, most of the time there were so many things going on that if we were to take out the phone and record just for content, our phone would have been like full of just like stuff. But we went there for a very specific reason. There was this one time we went to a Maasai village, and I brought my cinema rig, and it was just such a mesmerizing experience that after I was done recording for the first maybe 10 minutes, I stopped and just looked at what they were doing. It was just incredible. you know so there's definitely that pressure, but how we do it is we sort of take it easily. Like what you see is what you get. What we can give you is what you're gonna get. So sometimes it might take a week and we haven't posted,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we still are able to come back and post something that is more interesting for our
Right.
audience to,
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I love that. I used to be a food blogger, and I would go to all these different restaurants, and at first it was like so fun because I just loved it, and then it got to the point where I like kind of started hating it because I was like, I can't even just go eat at a restaurant and just like eat, right? And then even like I would get to the point where like my friends would be like, "Oh, are you gonna record?" And I'm just like, ugh, like
Yeah,
I don't want
right.
people to feel this pressure of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I gonna record this? Am I not gonna record it?
Yeah.
And so it got to
It
the
gets
point where
tedious.
yeah, like even now, like I don't even like posting where I go to eat because I'm just like I just want to be here and eat, and I want to enjoy myself. I don't want to feel the pressure to like create, like you know what I mean. And so like when you are creative, like you're creating, like I'm this podcast, like I'm doing this podcast on a weekly basis, right? So there are times when I'm just like I don't want to create because I'm already like
Right,
it's
you
like
got too
already a
much
job
going
for me, right?
Right, yeah.
And so I think there is a kind of like how do you separate those things to still make it fun and something
Let
you
me
want
add
to
to
do.
that
Yeah.
too, right? So basically, we Redefining Africa is one of the pillars, right? So
Right.
this is a very specific thing. We have to travel,
Right.
and when we go, we shoot with a very good camera, and then we will put that up, right? So that's good content that you could watch over and over and over again. And every now and then you might get some some iPhone footage, reels and whatnot, but we have really made it a point that we're not going to want to just record everything to put up, and with the pressure of being an influencer or an inspirer or whatever the case might be, we just kind of like do it when you want, basically, kind of. If you get my point. Yeah.
So that kind of gives you that freedom to be creative because y'all don't have the pressure. Hey, we got to get a post up today. It's kind of like, hey, at this point, we've kind of built up a foundation of like, a foundation for your business, for your content. And now it's okay. Now we can create when we want to. For the person who isn't at that point, the person who's still at the 10K, the 5K, that has to build up, like what advice do you give them, right? Because like you guys obviously have the 500,000 followers at this point, right? Like nobody can take that away from you. So to some degree, you kind of have the luxury of kind of being a little bit more free. But if you're really trying to grow, like you gotta have to be more aggressive. So like what advice would you say to someone who wants to have the same approach that you have in terms of how you think about it, but like they're also kind of like, yo, bro, like I don't have the brands calling me for the big bucks yet, but I want to get there.
Authenticity matters.
Okay.
I think mm,
I feel like you got I feel like you got something in you, bro. I was like, just let it out, man. You don't gotta.
you don't gotta please anybody. You
Yeah.
know, like when you're coming into the game or when you're up and starting,
Yeah.
you don't have to please anybody. You just have to make sure that what you're doing is driven by passion.
Okay.
Right. If it's driven by profits, if it's driven by being able to get some type of results, say followers and views and stuff, I think you end up in the giant pool of people that are just lost in this game of influence and is taking every single product that comes to them. You want to be original, because my theory is that legacy TV and legacy media is going to die off at some point, but they won't go down without a fight.
Right.
Right. Before they really go down, they will come into the industry where they will find independent content creators, and that content has to be able to meet the standards of being on TV. So you want to actually like curate your content for it to look like that. So if you want to do videos and make it look really good, and it takes you a month to do it, and another month you haven't posted, do that. I think that has more of a longevity to it. I think that would actually stand the test of time rather than trying to get the followers, because that's a ditch that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
I can attest to that. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to be in there.
Yeah.
You know, there was a point where me and my wife, we sat down and I was just looking at our content. I was extra happy because even the color on our page was specifically done by my wife.
Okay. Yeah.
We use that same color for our YouTube.
Yeah.
So there's a very seamless line, right?
Yeah.
You know, so you want to spend more time doing that, you know, and define who you are first before you jump in.
Yeah.
That's the advice I give to people.
Yeah.
You know?
And I want to co-sign that, because that's something I've noticed even with this podcast is some of the feedback I've gotten recently. People really appreciate just the level of excellence that we execute it with, in terms of just the lenses we're using for our cameras, how the lighting, just how we roll out episodes. And those are things that I genuinely am doing because I just love it. Like, you know what I mean? Those are things that obviously I know the standard of, like, hey, I want to be the best in the game. So I know that there's like a standard I gotta hit. You know what I mean? But also at the same time, like, I just like the way it looks.
Right.
Like, I enjoy it. And so I'm like, if y'all don't like it, I like it. So if I watch my own episodes, I'm on one. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like that mentality has now made it fun for me to show up every day, every week, to put out something good every week.
Right.
And people appreciate that. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I see how this works, right? So, you know, we're watching right now and we have, you know, maybe 350 subscribers on YouTube, right? And I know with this same energy is going to be there when I have 50,000.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, like, you know, being able to look at where you guys are at and go, okay, you have a similar mentality in how you create. And so that's the thing that you got to keep. That's the nucleus you got to keep, because all those other things can come and go.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Yes. They come and go very, very fast.
Yeah.
Very, very, very fast.
Okay. Like y'all's creative mission and style. So your wife is a photographer, and I want to talk about you and your wife as well, because your wife is European, right? So you have
she's Dutch,
okay,
right? But she was born here, right?
Okay.
Her family has been here, I think two generations.
Okay.
Here in America.
Yes.
So she's Dutch. She has the genes. Absolutely has the genes.
Because your blended family has like, I guess, talk about some of those dynamics, right? I know she said that first post I put out, like, was like people upset about like the swaddling video or what, you know what I think. So has there been any time, like, I guess, how y'all navigate that piece of it? You know what I mean?
The hate.
Yeah, I guess haters? Just like I feel like it'd just be controversial, right? You're taking your blended family to Africa and be like, hey, well, Africa, you know what I mean? So I don't know, has that been a part of the?
We actually use that to our advantage.
Okay.
Right? I think the best conversation starter on Instagram and other social media platforms is controversy. You have to get the people to think, right? You have to get them to want to say, what do you mean by that? You know?
Yeah.
But then there is a second piece of it where you explain it to them, and then now they're like, oh, I like you.
Right. Yeah.
So if, for example, when we put out a video to introduce our followers to what we were going to do in Africa, which is Redefining Africa. Journey to Al-Kabalan. The actual name of the series is called Journey to Al-Kabalan. Al-Kabalan is the actual name for Africa.
Okay.
Africa is a European name given to the land, right? So Al-Kabalan is what we called it, right? The ancients of Africa. So Journey to Al-Kabalan is perfect for it. But who's going to really,
Yeah.
I don't start no conversations, right?
Yeah.
So redefining Africa, well, like, oh, that's controversial enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? And people were coming left, right, front, and center for us.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you want to define Africa? Oh,
Yeah.
and it's a white woman in an Ankara print. So what we do is we pin that.
Hmm.
We'll pin that comment. We would respectfully,
Mm-hmm.
respond, right? But we'll pin that comment so other people will see it and think,
Mm-hmm.
"What, dude, this is ridiculous," right?
Yeah.
And then from that, conversation starts. And once that is
Yeah.
going on, the algorithm is like,
What's going on
look
these
at
guys,
these guys,
folks?
right? Let me put
Yeah.
it in the mainstream, So we
Yeah.
use that.
Yeah.
We actually look out for that,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So and I think it's something that you can't change about the world. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just human nature.
Right.
Everybody lives in a different dynamic,
Yeah.
or a different dimension, and you got to give them a chance to want to free yourself from there, to at least want to have a conversation on a neutral ground,
Mm-hmm.
right? And those kind of things bring them out of their shell. So,
Yeah.
for example, you can say every podcast sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, other people will say, "What do you mean by that?"
Yeah.
Reason why I'm saying that is now you're bringing them into a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we use the hate.
Yeah, I
We
love
do.
that, man. I love that. I've definitely noticed that on times. I've gotten some like YouTube clips that have like gone viral for me because there's a bunch of people in the comments that are just like hating on something that was said, and then I'm like, cool, I'll use the energy, right? And like it is what it is. Unfortunately, that's who our society is. Okay, we've talked about redefining Africa multiple times, right? And so I think I want to get into it, right? Because when you first came in, you sat down, we started filming this podcast. I was telling you, I went to Africa twice, and I was in high school and middle school, and I went on mission trips. And I was telling you, I was like, bro, I want to go back again because I want to go with a different lens, because I felt like I went with a well-intentioned mindset, but at the same time, it was also from a evangelical colonial like tactic almost. And a lot of people, that might be controversial. A lot of people might have feelings about that, right? In terms of like, okay, why do we go to Africa to evangelize, right? I mean, I think evangelism, I'm a Christian, and I want to tell everyone about, how God has changed my life and like the love of the Lord, right? But also when you think about how oppression has been done for years, using religion as kind of the open door, right? And like, okay, we're still doing the same tactics that we've been doing for a long time. And I'm like, I wonder if I went to Africa with a different mindset, if I have a different experience. And I would say I loved it. Going to Africa, I went to Uganda, loved the experience. I want to go to Uganda without the having my phone out to be like, y'all, look what I did.
Right.
Y'all, look at the poverty.
Right.
Y'all, look how happy the people are. They're so poor, but they're so happy. Like I see the old posts I used to make, and I'm like disgusted with myself because I'm just like, ugh, like, you know what I mean? It's like I want to go back with I want to be able to redefine it for myself, right?
Right.
So I'm very intrigued with this. So talk more about this redefining Africa, and like, what are even your thoughts in terms of what I just said, in terms of the American experience going to Africa, right? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's what's majority, like, okay, so let me put it this way. Many of the people that walk around the planet, right, have an idea of what Africa is. The ones that live in Africa have an idea of what they think Africa is. The ones that live outside of Africa have an idea. The thing is that redefining Africa, what we're trying to do is basically pulling all of these views into one basket. Doing this and pulling out, this is what Africa looks like, right? So we went to Kenya. We went on a game drive. We met the Maasai. We went to see where they make soapstones, right? So there is this stone that they used to make statues and all of this beautiful stuff. We went to many, many, many places. Many, many, many places, right? And all of these things are documented, right? So once we start putting content out and people keep watching, the idea of Africa would change in your head, because even just off of YouTube, you've known about Ghana now a lot more off of social media.
Right.
Did you ever know, or by somebody ever telling you, or you reading in a book or something like that, right? So redefining Africa is our way, right? And I think at some point a lot more people are going to join in to do, whether you're from Africa or you're from here, or whether you're Chinese, or because Africa is the new frontier, right? New development, new minerals, to new education, exchange of culture, all of this other stuff. I think by the time people start to tell this story much more to the masses of the world, we also would get some type of fulfillment from what we have started, which is again, redefining Africa is just a start.
So
Right.
what do you want someone's experience to be? Like obviously, like your experience is your experience, like what how you view something. But like, is there something that like you particularly want to highlight from the experience?
Africa is not poor.
Okay.
Far from it. Very, very far from it.
Yeah.
Africa is not poor. That's the main thing. Just so people know that all of the pictures that I see around the world and on TV, it's not what Africa really is.
Okay.
And the only way they can find that out is by watching content of it and traveling there. Right? Because we plan to travel all 54, God willing, all 54 countries of Africa.
Okay.
You know, so the idea is to just make it easier on people to say, you know what, I'm gonna go to South Africa. Never been, I'm going.
Yeah.
Because I saw these guys and I went there and the guys were great and
Yeah.
the food was great and
and you want to probably teach them how to go to Africa, right?
Exactly.
Because like, with the respect, with a level of okay, this isn't like I just think I think you have to change it from a tourist perspective to almost like, hey, I'm going on like I almost want it to feel like a Holy Land experience. You know what I mean? Even if you're not, you know, for you know, African Americans, that's going to be our experience a lot of times. Kind of, hey, I'm going back to the motherland. I even want, you know, Caucasian people, you know, Latinx people. I want people to go with a sense of reverence and like, hey, you're going to a land that has like a deep history and like
the mother of the world, basically.
You can go to, you know, you can go to the, you know, there's like, you know, they have the you know, the tourist things to do, right? You can go experience those and have fun, but then also like approach it like with reverence.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, don't approach it like you're going to a zoo to be like, oh yeah, look, I'm in Africa. You know what I mean? It's like, I just think there's got to be a different perspective. And I think you have to teach people that. Right. And I think that's, you know, we culturally know when you go to Mexico, everyone kind of knows like how to go to Mexico, right? You go to Mexico and like you're going to party and you're doing all these things. It's kind of like it has this almost brand to it of how you approach the country. And I think it's like whether that's good or bad, that's just what it is, right? And so I think we have to like look at Africa and think, okay, are we comfortable with the way people go to Africa, and do we need to do work? So I think that's why what you're doing is so impactful, is because it's gonna inspire people to approach a subject that maybe they have a little wrong perception of,
because it's scary.
Yeah, I went to you know, my wife is Indian, so I went to India in October of 2023.
Nice.
And it was so interesting to me because I feel like sometimes India has that similar perspective of like, oh, India is like third world, it's like
world,
poor.
yeah.
The middle class in India is massive.
Exactly.
And so I was in India and I was like
what?
These people, like I was like, people got money here. Like this isn't like we went to a whole tourist town just for Indian people, and it was like there was like no Europeans there, no Americans there. It was just Indians there, like vacationing, right? And people were just like, and it was just like, you know what I mean? Obviously, it looks different. You know what I mean? Like the roads are different. How people drive over there is different. The infrastructure is different. Like how they build their buildings with concrete. We build with wood, so it just looks different, right? So there are definitely things that are different, but like in terms of how you see it and your perspective, like you really, if you go with the right mindset, you're gonna have a lot more fun, and experience it in a way more fulfilling way than if you're just going with like, oh, America is the best, and I'm just gonna go all these other places because I need something to do. I need an exotic experience. You know
and
what
I think before people do that, they need to detox that mindset. Right. You know, because it contains a lot of that experience once you get there. Africa is Africa. It's developing still. America still is developing. The world is developing. They say there's corruption in Africa. There is corruption here in America too. There's corruption in Europe.
You know, I actually heard a podcast on the way over here that England is actually, the GDP of England is less than Mississippi, which Mississippi, I think, so like if England was a part of the United States, it'd be the 51st poorest state. So you think about it, even like other quote unquote developed countries in comparison to the US or comparison to other like aren't even actually as good as we think or whatever you think, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's really interesting to think about like who has money, what is the quality of life, and it's really different than what you actually think.
You know, I want to say this, right, to anybody that has the ability to create content and tell stories. Go to Africa. The reason is there is no landmass that has the most minerals in the world in Africa. And whether we like it or not, in this technology age that we are entering, we're going to need Africa so much. And most businesses will move their headquarters to Africa because of the amount of minerals and the amount of material raw materials that we would need from there. In Africa, once they realize the power they have underneath their feet, which is the minerals in the ground, it's going to become a very powerful continent. If they decide to unite, it would become a very powerful nation.
Mm-hmm.
Now that one right there, right? The United States. So I'm even stuttering saying it because it's
Yeah.
so powerful. The
Yeah.
United States of Africa.
Yeah.
So yes, the beginning stages look a little bit slow. You can't really call something a movement if it's not moving. But if you can, you should go, because the more stories that comes out of Africa brands Africa as a place where you can do business, as a place where you can go and relax. And I'll tell you something. When we went to Serengeti. I think we were at Serengeti for 4 days, and we're working with a company called Four Seasons. Right, that's where we stayed. And I'll tell you this: I did not see 5 black people there. I saw one. I'm friends with him now. Right, but every single person I saw there that was coming there for vacation was European and American.
Okay. Yeah.
It bothered me a bit.
Right?
Because this is in Africa, and I think Africans should enjoy it. But the price is very expensive, right? So I don't think the normal African is going to get up and want to pay $600 for park fees and go see some animals, right?
Yeah.
But I would say we need to continue to tell that story so we can get into the door and enjoy these things too. There are blue waters, very, very blue seas and waters all across Africa. Mombasa. If you go to Mombasa and you go to Diani, Diani is beautiful. Whenever you get a chance, just look. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Again, you don't see most of us over there. You see more Europeans over there, right? So we are not really. And who's gonna? Do you think I will brand your shirt much better than you would brand your shirt? No.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you think, with that in mind, do you think this Redefining Africa campaign is for Africans more so than even Europeans? Obviously, Europeans, Americans to some degree see the value. We've been exploiting this planet for this this continent for a long time. Unfortunately, people traveling there, spending money on tourist activities. Do you think, like, who do you think the target is for Redefining Africa? Obviously, it's not just one thing, but in terms of who you really want to influence, like, who do you think is kind of the main group? Is it the African population to empower them? Is it more so changing the way Europeans and Americans view it? Like, kind of what would you say? Okay, both. Okay,
both, because again, no person or no African country has taken up the mantle of rebranding Africa.
Other than Ghana, I mean, Ghana's done a pretty good job,
they're
but
trying,
they're trying. Yeah.
But one person out of the bunch, or one country out of the bunch, can really put a dent in the in the armor. So it's got to be a collaborative effort for sure. We want to inspire people in Africa. We want to inspire Americans. We want to inspire Europeans, people that are at the tipping point of wanting to really go see what Africa looks like, but they're a little bit afraid or whatever. All of these people, we're putting them all in one basket. Those are the people we are trying to inspire, right? Because again, for instance, so right now, if I can show you some, videos on my phone about the Maasai village and stuff, I am 100% sure if you go to Tanzania, you would want to go see the Maasai, because I just showed you, and you get what I'm saying? So, and you've been to Africa before, and you want to go back, right? You're not even at the tipping point. You've been to Africa before. There are people that has never been, but want to go. Okay. Right? We're coming for those people too. There are people that absolutely have a crass view of Africa. It's poor, kids are bellies are big and there are flies all over their faces. Those people too, right? Because the way we have actually structured our videos, we also sit down in a podcast form and talk about our experience, right? So you're not just getting footage, beautiful footage at that. You're also getting the experience we had with the people, right? And we don't talk about the house. We talk about the people in the house. So for example, our first episode, our driver was this incredible guy, Joseph, loved him. Helped us with, everything, knowing of the animals, driving us, wanting us, driving us very close to lions because I requested that. You know, beautiful. I still talk to them till today. I met my driver in Tanzania when we got to Dar es Salaam. I still talk to him till today.
Wow.
That's how beautiful the people are. You know, you walk into a space and it's a store with toys and stuff. And my daughters are grabbing it and stuff, and they're like, "It's fine. Oh, do you want this? You can take up. Do you want us to pay for it? No, you guys are good." That's how they are.
Yeah.
And I know that, and it doesn't surprise me because I grew up in Africa. But there's this nurturing factor of Africa that will disarm me for sure, right? And I want everybody else to go experience, and I hope Redefining Africa is able to do that.
Yeah.
For people.
Man, that's so awesome, bro. Thank you so much for coming on today, bro.
Absolutely.
Like, I feel like you said, it's like, I feel like I'm at the spearhead of a movement, you know what I mean? And I think it's a conversation that's been ongoing, but I'm glad to meet people like you who are actually getting into the action, right? Actually doing something about it and not just being like, you know, with the Twitter fingers, you know what I mean? You're actually going there, you're creating content, you're using your brand leverage to create these narratives. And man, I'm like, I got to figure out how I can go with you, man. I got to figure out that's possible.
You should come.
And, you know, take a group of people or take just myself, my family, and just be like, hey, like, let's go experience this in a new way. And then just tell everybody what we experienced. So excited for you, your family, what you guys are doing. And we're here behind you, man. So keep
Thank
going.
you, man. I appreciate it.
All right, bro.
Was definitely. Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah.
Check out that next episode of the Blueprint Podcast hitting your screen. And also hit that subscribe button for me. I know you enjoyed this episode. You're still watching. You enjoyed it. So hit that subscribe button. Give me a like. And we'll see you guys in the next video.